Welcome to Oddball. I'm Amin Elhassan. That over there is Izzy Gutierrez. This is the show where we debate whether Cooper Flagg is going to be a bigger deal than Bronny James. Oh my God, all the clicks. But seriously, this show is brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Oh, yeah.
And Izzy, we had big stuff go down this week. Big stuff. Taylor Jenkins, head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies, got let go on Friday. It's only 9 games left in the season. He's the all-time winningest coach in Grizzlies history. They had a big showdown with the Lakers, with whom they're fighting for the 4 seed against. And they kicked him out. They told him to hit the pavement. Izzy, how surprised were you by the timing? I think him getting fired, not as surprising as the timing.
Definitely not. I think I was sort of still getting over the Lakers and Bulls just taking all the madness from March for themselves with the finish of that game. And then I'm sort of getting the Taylor Jenkins news. And it's weird for a few reasons. One, you've seen over the course of these 6 years with this core of players what they can be when they're healthy and they look good, right? Like they're not 100% healthy. Obviously, Ja has missed like 30 games. They have been significantly worse since the All-Star break. And I think when you've had a coach for as long as he's been there, when you've seen the ups, you've seen the downs, you kind of notice when it's not going to cycle back to be a winning team again, to be at their peak. And if you look at their top 6 guys, really their top 7 guys these days, if you include Scottie Pippen Jr., every single one of them have only known one coach, and that's Taylor Jenkins, except for Triple J. His first year, he had JB Bickerstaff. Everybody else, only Taylor Jenkins. So you kind of get the feeling of when, hey, this might turn around. Maybe they'll turn it up right before the playoffs. And when you think about, Ja Morant reportedly not being in love with the offense and seeing how they've fallen off the last couple of weeks or few weeks, especially defensively, which is the place where you look at mostly where guys are getting coached up, when you look at it, it kind of doesn't seem so crazy. Like you're going to an assistant coach that might have a different version of the offense you're already running. And maybe it'll be the best. Maybe it'll be the honeymoon period during the playoffs. And you get the best of this team, because it didn't seem like they were going to go much further than they'd already gone with Taylor Jenkins.
Yeah, like is the case with a lot of these firings. You just gave a very compelling argument, Izzy, as to why he got let go. And I'm saying, cool. Yeah, all that makes sense. My big takeaway is why now? Why so late in the season? It's funny. We got a statement from Zach Kleiman, who's the head of basketball decision-making over there. And his statement was something along the lines of we're all about urgency around here. And I'm like, where was this urgency at the All-Star break? Urgency is a core principle of ours. Where was urgency at the All-Star break? Where was urgency the first couple weeks after the All-Star break? Where was urgency pretty much any time to give your new head coach time to figure things out? Because to do it now, to drop a bomb in the middle of a heated race, as we're going to a Western Conference playoffs, let's face it, it's not going to be easy regardless of what seed you're in. I just don't understand why they didn't just let him play the season out. If you had druthers that, we could win a championship with the right coach, then where were those druthers earlier? Here's another urgency/timing question for you, Izzy. They fired their assistant coaches last offseason. They brought in a whole new assistant coaching staff, which, by the way, they did not consult Taylor Jenkins on. You know what we call that? The old setting the table special. Okay, I'm going to get you up out of here. First things first, let me get rid of all your confidants. Let me hire a bunch of dudes that you don't know.
But that also helps out with the timeline, though, right? Yeah. Sort of explaining it, right? Because it's like, hey, here's your chance. We need to know what this is going to look like. And as they got further into the season, looked worse and worse. I don't know from the outside looking in, I don't know necessarily who was a Taylor Jenkins guy and who wasn't. But just based on the quotes, seemed like Jaren Jackson Jr. was definitely one, but Ja Morant certainly was not. Seemed like he got out of bed. It's like he was in bed, saw the quote. Surprised me. That's pretty much was the extent of his quote. Not, hey, I really love that guy.
So this is the part where it gets really complicated, right? Because part of what they did to him, Taylor Jenkins, in giving him this new staff, they also told the new staff, hey, you guys are going to come up with the offense. Wait, what? Okay, so your head coach isn't even going to get to call what offense we're running? To me, this is NBA cowardice at its best. Just fire the guy. You don't like him. You don't like the offense he runs. You think you could fire him. Why are you going to wait? Why are you going to wait this long? It happens so many times where I see these teams hem and haw. It's like when another firing Hall of Famer, when the Suns fired Earl Watson 2 weeks into the season. I said, you had all off season where you had the draft, you had free agency, you had the off season, you had, before we went to camp and foremost, we had all of camp. At no point were you like, I don't think this is the guy.
Yeah.
You figured that out 2 weeks in. Same thing here. You had whatever inkling you had when you fired his assistants. Then you let him go this whole time. You're like, I don't know, maybe he could turn it around. But now you figured out he can't turn it around in time. In time for what? For y'all to have the same result anyway? If it's the same result anyway, let him have the dignity of finishing what he started. And like I said, I'll go back to, if you think he's good enough to be your coach, let him pick his assistants. And if the result isn't right, then you fire him then. You fire all of them.
Let me say this, though. Whoever came up with the offense, I believe it was one of the coaches he was fired with just now. He came up with it as a model after a Division III school. Listen, man, if you're telling me, if I'm an NBA front office decision maker, and you are telling me you're going to devise an offense based on something that you saw with Division III something or other, no, thank you, man. I don't want any of that. Not only do I not think it's going to work, but you're going to tell your players that, and they're going to be like, why do we need some Division III gimmicky offense? And just to answer your last question there, in terms of like, what does it mean? Like, if they get the best out of their team with this new assistant coach or with this new coach, what's that going to mean? Is that going to mean title contention? Not necessarily. But if they make a Western Conference Finals, if they, go to a Game 7 in a second round, as opposed to flaming out in the first round, which a lot of people assume they might have done under Taylor Jenkins, that's enough confirmation for them that they made the right move. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but this isn't one of those championship or bust type of scenarios. It's, let's just see in these playoffs, because we know what it looked like under Taylor. Let's see what it looks like with this guy.
So let's talk a little bit about this guy, right? This guy being the new head coach, Tuomas Isalo. He's Finnish. This was his first year in the NBA on an NBA bench in any capacity, right? This year here. He's been a successful coach in Europe, albeit tempered success. And what I mean by that is he's never coached in like one of the elite leagues like Spain or Turkey, and he's never won one of those. Or in the Euro League. He's been a Euro Cup champion, which is the second division behind Euro League as far as past the continent. He's been a Champions League champion, which is very different from Euro League. But my point is, the guy comes with zero NBA history beyond this season, and very limited high-level international experience. And what I mean by that is, when players see are with a coach for the first time, and this guy hasn't been around the league, right? So guys will do a lot of, you know this guy? Oh, I see he coached in France. Were you playing in France with him? And so that's a lot of word of mouth goes there. Again, I'm not knocking the guy as a coach. I really don't know much other than looking at his resume. But what I'm telling you is, historically, NBA players don't trust outsiders. They don't. If you are an outsider, you better have a laundry list of connects and people who know you, who can vouch for you, where they'd be like, oh no, man, he was my assistant down in San Antonio. That dude's great. He knows his stuff. He's always whatever. Oh man, that was my guy in Milwaukee, man. He used to work out any time of night. I would call him. He'd come out and work out. And this guy was always coming with film and stuff like that. I played against him in such and such or such and such. When you are someone who doesn't have any of those things, and then you come in and you say, guys, I've got this new offense for you. It's based on a Division III school. Oh, by the way, all those pick and rolls you love to run, Ja Morant, we're not running them no more, which is, again, an ongoing storyline. This is a quote from Isalo after he got the job. It was a big surprise. In the last 24 hours has been quite a scramble here, trying to get myself and everybody organized. Izzy, if it's one thing I know about the NBA, they never fire a coach without having an idea who the next guy is going to be. And the next guy it's going to be rarely, I won't say never, rarely has zero clue what's about to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, might I introduce you to the dagger? Well, I'm trying to run this off. I'm giving him the offense because he just don't like it, or he don't know how to run it the way I draw it up. I mean, if I drew it up, I was calling the shots. I would have called this. The different lineups, I would have done like, and then it's like, hey, we fired head coach. We want you to be called. Me? I was just thinking in hypotheticals. I didn't know anything. Oh my gosh. Oh, I gotta get organized. Well, what is this? My handy dandy book of plays that they're already all thought out of.
Well, and the other thing is like the idea, you're right. The idea of that offense was they weren't running as many pick and rolls. Even though somebody like Zach Edey drafted number 9, he says out loud, hey, I love pick and roll offense. And then they do less of it. Right. And, the idea is that they draft him so they can punish small ball teams. Instead of that, they just take them out and do the traditional thing. It doesn't seem like they were aligned on a lot of things. And so I wonder if it was something of, they were just waiting for this opportunity, right? Because they've been, they've been up and down all season long. They've been dancing around the 2 seed for a while. Maybe it's now they're just like, all right, we've seen enough. It was never going to work. You're not doing what we asked you to do anyway. Let's use this assistant coach. He might put a couple new wrinkles in the offense, and so people won't complain as much. But yeah, you weren't doing what we asked anyway.
Wait about new wrinkles. It's his offense. He's the mastermind. Him and the other dude who got. By the way, there's an assistant who got fired. That's the funny thing. It's like, I just got here. How's this my fault? Again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not arguing for or against any of these individuals. I'm just saying, when you are an NBA organization, there is a protocol you follow when you make these kinds of changes in power. And when you don't follow them, you might think like you're doing people a solid, but it's the opposite. You're putting them in quite the awkward predicament where they got to answer a bunch of questions that they may not necessarily have answers to. Quick question before we move on off of this. Izzy, what do you think this means for Ja long term? Remember Howard Beck wrote this thing about Ja might be the next superstar on the move, and the Grizzlies came out with a very flowery statement about, oh my God, everyone hates us because we're Memphis, but that's not going to happen, and nothing's going to da-da-da. And here they are showing their ass in the most small market country bumpkin ass kind of way. So what does all this mean for Ja, Izzy?
I don't think this puts him in like the coach killer category because, again, you've had 6 years with Taylor. I think if anything was going to sort of force him out of Memphis, it was last year, and it was everything around that. And so I don't know if this in itself is that telling. I will say that in the games that he missed, they were basically hovering above 500. And so I don't think that is very encouraging if you're the Grizzlies and say, hey, we can move on from Ja whenever we want. I still think they consider him and Triple J as franchise cornerstones.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, are the bad boys coming back to play? Welcome back to Oddball. All right, Sunday night, we had a matchup between Minnesota and Detroit that ended in fisticuffs. That's right, we don't see that too often. Guys, old-fashioned manhandling each other, grabbing each other, shoving each other, getting each other's faces. It was Naz Reid fouled by Ron Holland, and then Dante DiVincenzo jumped in, and it all turned into a scuffle, a brouhaha, a skirmish, or as Izzy heard from someone, a squirmish.
Yeah, let's get this out of the way real quick because somebody on the reels today I saw called it a squirmish, and I said to myself, "Oh, wait a second! It's always called a skirmish, but is it spelled squirmish? SQUI?" And so I did all the looking up, and it was like, no, people just sometimes people do spell it skirmish, but pronounce it skirmish, and apparently that's allowed because it's like a nonce word or something. I don't know, but just know it's pronounced skirmish no matter how you spell it.
And Izzy, these are the same people who brought you loser, LOOSER.
Looser, yes. Which is a description.
Seven people got ejected, 5 players and 2 coaches. Let's get to the nitty-gritty of all of this, the real stuff, which is, does this signify anything for the Pistons that they're not going to take from anybody?
They already were this team. And I'll tell you, it's just because of Isaiah Stewart, in my opinion, Beef Stew, as they call him. Because if you remember back when they played the Warriors recently, he actually got Steph Curry to do like a double take, and stare down.
Call him tiny.
Right. Right. There's not that many people that can do that and say the right things to Steph Curry or even want to, poke the bear, if you will. And this one, it wasn't even his fight, really. He just
Yeah.
came in, and if you show that image of him, like he left the floor, like pointing at his Detroit jersey, like saying, "This is us. Like, do not mess with us." And I do think that this whole idea that they are this, young, lovable team, yeah, that's
Say
great.
it.
But
No.
this Isaiah Stewart tells me that they're tough, and maybe the bad boys are
There it is.
back.
No.
I know
Go
you're
ahead.
waiting for that one.
Why are you stopping short of what you said earlier, off camera, off air?
Oh,
Say the thing.
They could be a contender in the Eastern Conference. Like they could just be young, the combination of young and dumb enough and tough enough to surprise somebody. Because let's think about it for a second. You're the Boston Celtics, right? Who did the Boston Celtics really beat in the Eastern Conference last year? I'll help you out. Nobody. Okay. Yeah. Nobody. So if they run into a tough opponent in the second round that's pushing back on them and can score the way this Pistons team can score, I don't know. I think they got a shot.
No. Yeah, I can't believe you think they're young and dumb enough to believe it. I can't believe you're dumb enough to believe this. Look, Izzy, there's a couple of things going on. So number one, the generally accepted definition for contender is, can you make it to the conference finals, right? Can you be in the NBA's Final Four? In the East, you got to beat one of two teams to get to the conference finals. Either the Cavs or the Celtics. There's no way you can avoid it, barring everybody getting malaria or something and missing time. And as a result, you waltz through, kind of like the Celtics did last year. So this team is nowhere near able to compete with either of those teams.
What's missing?
What's missing? How about being to the playoffs before?
So just experience. Okay.
Yeah, like what you got to trust Tim Hardaway Jr. and Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris to be like the leaders of this thing? Come with me, guys that have never been anywhere near meaningful basketball before. I'll show you the way. That's not.
It reminds me of the team of the Dwayne Wade's rookie year, where he was the star, even though they didn't really know it as much. Cade is leading the way, and it's just a quality group around him that can, play today's basketball. And
didn't they lose? Did that Heat team lose in the first round?
Second round to the Indiana Pacers in 6 games. And that was a Pacers team that was supposed to go far in those playoffs. I'm not saying that team was a contender necessarily. I'm just saying it reminds me of that team. And if they would have beat the Pacers, wouldn't have been that crazy.
Oh, if they would have beat the Pacers. Okay, woulda, coulda, shoulda is what we're doing over here. Okay, so if I gave you, which team in the East has the best chance of knocking off one of the top two?
I mean, if they're completely healthy, I'm going to say the Knicks, because as you said, they've been there. We've seen it happen. But Pistons are right there, if not overtaking them, if you just look at the last half of the season.
Knicks, Pacers, Bucks, I have them all better than the Pistons in terms of playoff.
The Bucks,
but the Pistons are getting there. They're getting there.
Okay.
All right. Let's do this. Let's play a little game called Centel or Central. Let's start with a soundbite, and I'll explain.
I was brushing my teeth, and all of my friends called me, and they was like, "Yo, is this real? Is this real?" It was like, Coach Jenkins got fired. And my first time, I was like, they probably saw like NBA Centel or something.
All right, so that was G.G. Jackson of the Memphis Grizzlies. Izzy, he's explaining to the people who don't know that there's a parody site. There's an aggregator site called NBA Centel. All they do is follow all the newsbreakers, and then they repurpose their stuff into their own tweets. Well, in the last year or so, there's this thread called NBA Centel. So it's a misspelling of Central, and they do parodies of these kind of missives. And for some reason, people fall for it every single time, even though
because they do a great job with it. Because I've gotten several times, twice.
Okay, all right, whatever. All right, so we played this before. So what we'll do is we show a real tweet that's been posted by either Central or Centel. Let's play. All right, first one up. What do we got? Says, report Draymond Green called Isaiah Stewart and advised him to try and direct his energy toward the Wolves center next time. Izzy, is this Central or Centel?
I mean, anything that involves Draymond Green is a possibility. It feels like Centel next time, because I don't think he is purposely going after Rudy Gobert by proxy at this point. So yeah, I'm going to go Centel on this one.
The moment I said he called Isaiah Stewart, I knew it was Centel. Give it to me. What is it? Yeah, it's Centel. Come on, guys. Come on. People are falling for stuff like this. That's the incredible part. All right. Second one we got here. Doc Rivers says he doesn't get enough credit for winning 3 games in the playoff series where he blew 3-1 leads, saying, quote, no one tells a real story, and I'm fine with that. It's unfair in some ways. I don't get enough credit for getting the 3 wins. I get credit for losing. I always say, what if we had lost to Houston in 6? No one cares. One of the things I'm proud of is we've never been swept. All the coaches have been swept in the playoffs. My team's achieved. A lot of them overachieved, and I'm very proud of that. Izzy, is this a real quote or is it Centel?
It feels like it should be fake, but I've heard Doc Rivers say this or seen him say this now, not once, but twice, which is, I mean, it's odd that he's going to hang up a banner that says never been swept. I think that was, that's something that probably should look into when he retires. But man, like I guess, just inability, the lack of awareness here, just to say this again, not just once but twice, because he's talked about this before. It's a little embarrassing, and I think if you go into Doc Rivers' impression, it's probably the best way to answer this.
Yeah, it's crazy because I did say this years ago when I was in Philly when we blew a 3-1 lead there. I said, hey, in order to blow a 3-1 lead, you got to be good enough to get a 3-1 lead, and that I agree with him. But yes, this is a real quote. Said it multiple times. And here's another tell if you're wondering whether it's Centel or Central. Centel never has that much text. That's way too much text.
That's true.
Way too much text.
All right.
Did I tell you which one? You know, the first one I got with, right? Which is the quote from Anthony Edwards. It said, feels like Julius Randle's playing in jeans.
Yeah.
That one seemed pretty real. I got on that one.
All right. Let's get another one up here. It says Bronny James on why LeBron James should win MVP. I grew up in an era where the MVP always goes to the best player in the NBA. Now, this, ladies and gentlemen, this is a tough one because everything in me, Izzy, says there's no chance Bronny would even chime in on this. But if he were to chime in, I think that's what he would say. What do you think, Izzy?
Well, I mean, if he were to chime in and he did say that, he would be probably lying, right? Because he grew up when his dad was winning MVPs, and there's a couple of them that people think, a couple more that people think should have gone to him and
Derrick
shouldn't
Rose.
have gone to somebody else like Derrick Rose.
Yeah.
And so, he didn't grow up in an era where the best player got the MVP. So I'm going to say this is Centel. I think Bronny would have been all over the place if he said this.
Yeah, if it's not going crazy viral, it probably didn't happen. When it's
this is me doing the Will Ferrell meme where he's super pumped, but I'm not doing it very well. I need to be in a robe.
It's time to play Hot Streak. Hot Streak is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. This is the game where me and Izzy pick which game and the line off of the DraftKings Sportsbook, and we try to figure out how many in a row we can get. Now, we had a nice little streak, and then it got broken off, but last week we picked the Clippers plus 3.5 versus the Knicks. Well, the Clippers won by 13 points. That was a great pick by us. That means we're back on 1-0. We got to start somewhere with the streak. So let's stay hot. Here are some of the games we could choose from. We've got Rockets at Lakers. The Rockets are 3 games ahead of the Lakers in the standings. The Lakers are 5-5 in their last 10. Rockets are coming off of a shellacking of the Suns. Yeah. We've got Celtics -5 at Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are fresh off of firing their coach, and they lost on Saturday against the Lakers. The Grizz also need every win they can to stay out of the play-in. Didn't think that was an issue, but now it is. Right. And we've got Bulls at Thunder. Thunder are 15-point favorites. Bulls have been red hot for the month of March, which is 9-5. Not really red hot, but red hot for them. Thunder have already clinched the number 1 seed out west. Izzy, I'll give you all of those games. Which one intrigues you the most?
I like 2 teams. I like the Bulls, and I think I like the Rockets. But shocking. The Bulls, I think, just staying close within 15, even if they're getting blown out, might be able to score some points and just kind of keep it close. I think Rockets, Lakers. I know the Rockets are on a back-to-back here, and the Lakers are desperate, but the Rockets have just been cleaning up, and the defense has been spectacular. I don't see the Lakers doing much with that defense.
I'm looking at Thunder Bulls. The Bulls have been a lot better. The Thunder have had some close ones. Now, I know Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren missed a couple of those games, but the combination of they have it locked in and the Bulls playing well, and plus 15 is so big. I feel like you got to go Bulls here, right?
All right, let's put our money on the Chicago Bulls.
All right, Bulls plus 15. Before. Yeah, well, it's a new day ever since the banners got damaged. That's going to do it for us here at Oddball. Izzy, Michael Jordan called. He said, I'm still the greatest player of all time.
Lies.